used to wonder, what made men go over the wall? I think all guys think things like that, you know. What makes them do that crazy thing? And so, you know, then I kind of got into studying a little bit about, I think the Civil War fascinated me as a kid. So I got started reading it, and what I discovered as I went along through the years of studying the history, and I mentioned this to a few of you tonight already, history's written by the winners. Okay, basically. The narrative comes, and what you're taught in school comes from, obviously, the guys who won. But what I discovered was, what I was taught in school wasn't the truth at all. Wasn't even close. So the more I got into it, and the hundreds of volumes that I have read in my lifetime on this subject, I finally just kind of set those aside. I had everybody's point of view. And so then I started looking at memoirs. Memoirs of the soldiers, both sides. Memoirs of their families, their wives, everybody that got left behind, and all that, and all those kinds of things. And what I discovered was, in all of that, was now I was getting an idea, not only about the Civil War, but any war. And the words we use, and the values we think we carry with us into those kinds of things. And the conclusion that finally dawned on me was, everybody's the same. We all want the same things. We all want, basically, to go home, both physically and spiritually. We want to go home. That's the main idea. And then, as the war went on, these memoirs of these men changed. From, yeah, let's go kick some butt, to, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I here? To finally, what can I find that will strengthen me to get through this? And 9 times out of 10, it was someone they loved, home, their kids, whatever it may have been. All they wanted to do was live like that again. So really there was no winner. There's never a winner in war. So, as glorious as all the movies and the books make the Civil War, it wasn't. Okay? It isn't written to pick sides. It's not political in any way. Okay? So we were kind of nervous about playing this in the South. Okay? But, forgive my Southern accent as I play the other character. What I wanted to do was be able to hint at a Southern accent and still pronunciate and dictate so you could hear what I was saying. Okay? And I'm not very good at it anyway. So anyway, those of you from the South here, just forgive and live and let live, right? That kind of thing. So Katie and I are very thrilled to bring you this show. There's one thing else I need to say to you before we begin. All through the show, I'll be holding this, looking at this, reading at this, the different characters I play, okay, right up until the very end of the show. This is a diary. There were thousands like these. So what I did is the whole show is basically revolves around this book. So every time I hold this book, whenever I have it, it represents everyone. Not just the man who's holding it. So the same soldier will use the same diary. Okay? It's the idea that 655,000 dead Americans are represented by this book. Okay? So as I use it, and I set it in reverence, and I touch it in reverence, keep that in mind. Also, this is a show about freedom, but more importantly, it's a show about God. How we relate with Him. And when we turn our back on Him, wow, the crazy things we do. Okay. All right. So, without anything else, Katie, did I forget something? Nothing?
Oh, well, there will be an intermission after Home Sweet Home.
Okay, after the song Home Sweet Home, there'll be an intermission, okay? Also, feel free to applaud. We don't, not that we, it's not an equal thing. We just, if you feel like clapping for something, clap, because a lot of these shows are pretty stiff and stuffy. Katie and I aren't like that. And if you don't clap, well, I'll get over it. Okay, so, no, I'm just kidding.
Clapping is optional.
Freedom. What will any man or woman do to be free? And when all is said and done, how will each soul measure the value, the cost of freedom's dream fulfilled? The fall of Fort Sumter in 1860 was not about freeing slaves, although it couldn't be denied that the institution of slavery was splitting the nation apart. It was about the difference between two separate ways of life, two very different visions of what it meant to be a free nation. The writers of the Constitution, well, they were aware of the division, and trusting in the lofty principles of human rights, they believed that they could guide their newborn nation to a common and shared reality of freedom. In the end, it was too much to ask of a country still in its infancy. The division widened, and compromise failed to bridge the gap. War was inevitable, and all believed it would be a short one. A Southern statesman boldly claimed that all the blood that would be shed would fit into a thimble. Well, this short war lasted for 5 years. 655,000 men died for their cause. More men than all America's wars combined through Vietnam. The Union was preserved, and the Southern way of life faded into history. 3 million men fought in the war, and their average age was 25. What we remember tonight is that every one of them was a son, a father, friend, husband, and for each of them, the price of freedom, whether they lived or died, it was paid in full. Each of them defined freedom in a very different way. For many of them, freedom became defined by love, or the absence of it. What we believe is how we define ourselves. What we know is who we truly are. It is there in the knowing that freedom lives. Only then, in that knowing, can we define a rightful, just cause. These sentiments were expressed in the songs the soldiers listened to, sang together. Music said for them what lived in their hearts. So much so that songs like Home Sweet Home were actually banned in camps on both sides. Melancholy, desertion, not a good thing for an army. And this particular song contributed to that. Music is the language of what is divine, reaching deeper than what our perception of what we believe to be right or wrong. Robert E. Lee once said, "I don't see how we could have an army without music." America should be free ground, all of it. Not divided by a line between slave state and free, but all of it, from here to the Pacific Ocean. No man has to bow. No man born of royalty. Here we judge you by what you do, not by who your father was. Here you can be something. Here is a place to build a home. It's not the land. No. It's always more land. It's the idea that we all have value. So what we're fighting for, in the end, we're fighting for each other. And what we discovered in the end was that all men, all good men, will fight for freedom, not on battlefields, right here, within their own heart.